Hello friends! Mallory's working till 8. And when Mal works till 8, sometimes she likes for me to make the tofu dish. And this is a good one because it's very quick. It's very quick to make and it always comes out delicious. So I think you'll want to know how to make this dish. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. So, I am going to do it. Alright, here's what you need. Some extra firm tofu. I've already removed the tofu from its little package, and I've washed the package out. At the same time, I went ahead and I took my tofu, and I rinsed it under cold water, gave it a nice shake, and I left it sitting on this paper towel for a few minutes, just to leach out some of that water. I always wash my vegetables and tofu in cold water. I don't know, it makes it come a little crisper when you throw it in the oil. And you're gonna need a potato. So you need a potato as part of this meal, and your extra firm tofu. Okay, so you're gonna take your tofu, and you're gonna get a knife that's long enough, not too wide. You don't wanna leave too much of a footprint behind. Something thin is best. So we're gonna slice into about 1/4-inch slices here, our tofu. So here we go. Easiest way, cut it right in half. Boom, once, and cut those halves in half. Make sure you got your Dr. Danger music on in the background. It really helps with the cooking. Alright, and then each of those quarters that you just made, you're going to eyeball into thirds. This is a really unsafe way that I'm cutting this because I'm not a chef. But, as you can see, I'm not lopping any fingers off if I can help it. And each of these sections is now 3. So you get about a dozen pieces there. Then, before you pop them back into your little container, which is why I washed it out, we're going to fill it with our ingredients. Soy sauce. We'll give it I don't know, we're just going to cover very lightly the bottom of our thingamabub. You can see it? Just barely down there. It's not, it's just barely covering it. Then we're going to do the same thing with some teriyaki. Not even quite as much. Okay? And we're going to take some white vinegar and put about a teaspoon in there. That's to taste. And then you got some sesame oil. This, you just need a few drops. Just a couple. I always put too much. 1, 2, yeah, a few drops in there. It's very strong, that sesame oil, but it gives it a nice nutty flavor. Okay, sesame oil is in. Now, sometimes you make a mistake. You put too much soy sauce in there and it's too salty. What do I do? You put more vinegar, but then you get, more vinegar. The vinegar does kind of curb it. But what I do is, if it's too salty, is I add a little bit of tea. Cuts it. It's that bad. It's also a good fill. Not much. Teaspoon, tablespoon. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright. We got our liquid stuff. Now, honey. That's going to go in there. And it's mostly going to get rubbed onto our tofu. But we also need to put in our rooster sauce, our chili garlic sauce. I live by this chili garlic sauce, and I have for many, many, many years. See, is the cock, the rooster. And here it says, "Don't toy Vietnam, don't." So we're going to take a blob of that. We're going to chuck her in there. I don't know, something like that maybe. Smells so good. We're going to throw them right in there. Stir it up. Okay, now, it's looking pretty good. And it is a little salty, so tiny drop. Just a tiny bit of tea. I'm going to cut back on my... Plus the tea has a nice flavor of its own, don't you know? Right. And then, oh, it's so nice. Okay, and if we need a little bit more, we'll reach it up. Now that I got my tea in there, I can actually pump a tiny bit more fluid. You can put rice wine in this, but because of the way you're going to cook it, chances are you're not going to get a chance to get that rice wine too well cooked out of it. It's better for stir frying. Okay. So you got your sauce in there, mixed up nicey. It only takes about a 1/4 inch of liquid, really. to cover this stuff once you start putting it in. Then we're just going to take these pieces, and we're going to plop it in sections, about a third at a time. And as we do, we're going to let it flip down like so, get wet, just keep flipping them, right? Flip them back up, slide them to the edge. Basically, you're just going to get a little bit of that marinade on each piece of tofu in your reused tofu container. A little recycling going on here. All right, we get that first blob in there, and then we do the same with the rest of the tofu. Chuck it in there. Make sure you left yourself enough room to put them down. If you put too many pieces in, you won't be able to lay them down and get the juiciness on them. So then the last few pieces, gravity is going to work for you sort of, and the capillary action as the tofu starts to displace the air in the container and pushes the sauce to the top, the marinade, excuse me, to the top, thusly covering the tofu. And if you then push it down slightly, you'll see that the fluid kind of comes up. All right, so our marinade is in. Now, the other thing that we need besides that marinade is some honey on top of it. And the honey is going to help brown the edges, and it's also just a nice flavor. If you're, somebody's really into spicy food and you want to add a little more chili garlic sauce at this point, I won't stop you. Problem, I'm a working man. Alright, I got no time for fun. I'm on it like a bonnet till the job is done. And I'm spreading my honey around with, this spoon is what I was using, not my finger. Why, what did you think I was using? Okay, so basically, we get that honey on there. What the hell's wrong with this thing's on strike here? I don't know what the... Well, Mal likes more honey than... There we go. We get the honey on, and we leave it to marinate. Doesn't really need much, because the tofu is kind of mushy as it stands. Now we're going to take our potato. I use a nice big baking potato. I do not peel it. I do not scrub it. I just wash it. I hand wash it like this. Like it's my mean or something. And then once I do it, take it over here, and we're just going to cut it. Not quite as thin as a potato chip, but about as thin as a pickle. Think about that, huh? A little pickle slice like you get at McDonald's. That's the thickness you're headed for here. And yes, if you do hold your fingers like this when you cut, you can go really fast and supposedly not cut yourself. That's how chefs do it. I just go slow, but I do keep my fingers like that usually because I play guitar and I don't want to saw them off. Last time I was at my buddy John Rosado's house, I tried a different technique and it didn't work out too good for my thumb. Okay, now once we get all our little potato slices sliced up nicely, then we're just going to take some peanut oil. I don't use a lot. I'm a frugal guy, I'll admit it. There we go. That's the last one. All right. So we're going to take enough oil to make a small puddle. There we go. That's about a tablespoon, maybe a tiny bit more, if that. And then I make an X with it. Boom. One end to the other. Boom. X. Boom. X. And then I make a triangle out of the ends. And then from that point, you can pretty much see you got enough oil. Yep. Feeling another. Then just smear it in between the lines of the triangles you made. Bing, bang, boom. You just got to have enough oil so it doesn't stick and burn. You don't want a ton of oil in your food. Saturated fat, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Once you get that oiled up, you're going to take your potato, you plop it down, smear it, and flip it. What that does is it gets oil on the side that's facing up initially. Alright? You go through, you get all your potatoes down. Once you get your potatoes down, you're going to go ahead and you're going to start, and I always try to put my fatter potatoes towards the middle, because I know that's where it's going to be hottest. And then The ones that I mutzed up and cut too thin, those will go towards the front or overlap a little bit. Because they don't need as much love and cooking tenderness. Alright. Now once I get all of my potato wedgies, and these are nice because they're gonna cook like potato chips, you know? Some of them are real, I make real thin, some less, but very nice. I'm gonna throw a little salt and pepper on those. And then I don't want to put too many until I go ahead and get my tofu in there. Because usually you end up fitting things around the tofu. Right about now is a good time for me to preheat my oven. Bugga, 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 bugga. There we go. Broil. High. On. I do use the broiler. We're looking for a nice browning effect on this. Alright, now, I'm just going to kind of make sure my squished down a little bit last time. My marinades got on everything. And then I'm going to start taking these out a couple at a time, trying not to break them. Same thing I did with the potatoes. I drop it, I smear it, I flip it. Drop, smear, flip. Get an oil on the side that is going to face up. And that way it doesn't burn. That's why you're dropping it, smearing it, and flipping it to get that oil. It's all working out grandly. And get my last few pieces in here. By the time I do, my oven will be preheated nicely. It's an electric oven, I don't love it. But, and this will be ready to go in. If we're real hungry, I might put in some rice, you know, like a boiling bag rice, and then chuck it into the stir-fry pan with just some scallions and a little garlic. But usually, this is enough chow for us, for me and Mal. It's just right. So, there we go. This one oven cookie pan kind of deal is always works out to be just enough to get all the tofu, all the potatoes, and then you're going to salt and pepper that to taste, and you're going to throw it in your oven. And basically, in that amount of time, which to me to be, I'm going to say 13 minutes, you have got yourself a lovely meal. The tofu, protein, and a nice starch. You get your salt on there, your pepper, and you're done, babe. Now what I'll do is I'll put this in here, get it in my oven, it's gonna broil, and when I'm ready to flip it, which will maybe about 10-11 minutes, just gotta keep an eye on it and see when it starts browning. When the top gets brown, you'll flip it, but you only have to flip it for less than a minute. Once the top is kind of browned, it's done. You just gotta turn it so it's not like gooey raw on the bottom. But at that point, when you flip it, you'll put the rest of your marinade in the pan. And that'll give it another zot. And while you're waiting, you put your ingredients away, and you're pretty much done. When your beautiful girlfriend and or special baby comes home, dinner is served. She'll smell it too when she comes into it. What's that smell? Oh, you made the tofu. Oh, I love you. All right, Joe Harvard, one band man. Oh, Dr. Danger. Oh, special baby tofu. Enjoy. Bon appetit.